Welcome to the Underground, my little underground with Peter A.
It's My Little Underground. I'm Peter A. This week on the show, we have Kelly Moonstone, the artist formerly known as the Aphrodite and the fifth ever guest on My Little Underground, is back on the show to talk about her new album, I Digress. Also, she talked up her recent tour with Navy Blue and some takeaways from that experience, psychedelic drugs, and we also talked about song release strategy, and so much more with Kelly Moonstone returning to My Little Underground.
My Little Underground.
Kelly Moonstone, welcome back to My Little Underground. Glad to have you.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, you've been doing so much. You changed your name and you went on your first tour. So I want to pick your brain about that with Mr. Navy Blue, who you've worked with. He produced Warm on I Digress, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Tell me a bit about the tour. Like some of the expectations that you had of your first tour. Like were they met?
I didn't really know what to expect on my
Mm-hmm.
first tour. It was really interesting opening for somebody like consistently throughout like a journey across like many cities. I went to Europe for the first time. So it was a lot of firsts. Um, but it was wonderful. It was really good. Sage is a joy. He's an amazing person. And I had a lot of fun traveling with him and Zero, and my manager slash DJ Marvel. So it was great. I think that it opened my eyes to a lot of like the ins and outs of like just showbiz in general. Um, and like, even when there was like little issues along the way, each of those things were like a learning experience. So I definitely enjoyed gaining more insight. And I will say that now that I've been home, I look at live performances almost completely differently now. Um, so yeah, it's just been a very eye-opening learning experience.
What were some of the hurdles that you went through and how did you overcome them? And how was your perspective changed from live performance from this tour?
So for I guess the hardest thing for me was honestly the actual act of traveling itself. Usually I don't have trouble like, flying. I don't mind flying, but I was only touring for a month in comparison to some other people. They're on tour for like a whole season or half a year. But like even in that, I realized like, wow, I am very fatigued. Like jet lag is a real thing. Um, and especially like going across the ocean to Europe, like traveling to London, traveling back from Amsterdam to go all the way to LA, like 11-hour flights, like those are some things that I've never actually endured. And it can be pretty nauseating. It can be very anxiety inducing. Um, or just makes you like a little stir crazy because you're in the same spot all day, and then like depending on what direction you're going, I mean, either way, the time difference is gonna affect you a little bit. But like, let's say you wake up and you leave Amsterdam like in the middle of the morning, but you're like traveling essentially what's back in time to go to LA. You land and the sun is like still shining, even though you've been up for like 12 hours plus, and then like shit doesn't stop just because you've landed. So it's just I don't know, it's just a lot. But I think that was the worst part. And then honestly, also like maintaining like a healthy diet is nigh impossible. So like a lot of the times I notice with traveling, you have like one opportunity to find something to eat sometimes, and if it's nasty, then it's just nasty and you have to just take the L. But that sucked. And then like eating, like having to stop and like grab snacks from a gas station, or like just picking up stuff you don't really want to eat but just to hold you over until you get to the next place. Even that can have an effect on you because like you're eating a bunch of crap, so you're not really getting the energy that you need, and then you're still expected to put on an entire performance. um little things like that, and that was such a small scale in comparison to like big like 30 date tours. We only did like 9 dates, so imagine if that was like times 3, you know. But I enjoyed it overall. It was still very amazing, but like I just, learned like, okay, maybe, I mean, I don't know if there's any necessarily a way to prepare for it, but like going into it the next time, I know I have a little bit more of an idea of what to expect and what I want for like the next tours or as I grow or whatever. I think I would definitely prefer to have a tour bus um versus like traveling in a sprinter or like having to do flight to flight to flight. I think that's well, yeah, those were probably my biggest two hurdles. Everything outside of that was great.
So when you talk about like slim pickings as far as nutrition is concerned, and yeah, I know you as an artist, you're a great singer and a great rapper, so your voice
Hmm.
is very important. So generally speaking, as far as taking care of your voice, taking care of yourself physically and mentally, how did you do
Yeah.
that even with all of those nutritional hurdles that you went through?
So one thing that's very important to artists on tour, there's always going to have to be some type of tea. Like we drink a lot of tea on tour. Um and the first show of the tour, like we landed the same day as the show, and everybody was just so excited to see each other that we were like just being giddy and silly and talking all day. And I realized during my set, like I sounded fine, but I noticed that my voice, like my throat was sounding kind of hoarse or feeling hoarse rather. Nobody could tell, but I could tell because I was, experiencing the discomfort. And I realized it was because I just used my voice a lot that day. And from then on, um, I had to basically make sure that I have a certain amount of quiet time before my sets. Um, Cough drops, lozenges like Halls, Ricola, absolute necessary. Can't can't do without it. So I definitely have a combination of cough drops and tea hours in the hours leading up to my set, and then I want to say maybe like after sound check because I do a very light sound check, but after sound check there's absolutely no talking. Like I'm just completely mute up until it's time for me to go on stage. And I also don't this is I've been doing this since before I even went on tour, but I don't do any type of like I don't smoke anymore, but I don't do any type of marijuana, alcohol. Like I'm completely sober up until showtime, after I get off stage, and then I partake if I feel like it. But yeah, so I think that was the biggest thing with my voice, just knowing when to rest and making sure that you're hydrated, making sure that you have something to soothe your throat, because it is a very physically taxing thing to do to get up there and perform for 30 plus minutes, So, so yeah,
Did you find time to work out?
I did work out maybe twice during the whole thing. My manager Marvel, when we were in, I forgot where we were. We were in one of the cities. It was probably a U.S. leg of the tour, but he did a workout with me, and actually, I kind of regret doing it because the next day we had to go to the airport, and my legs were really freaking sore, and we had to do all that walking and carrying your suitcase. It was terrible. So I'm not against working out on tour. I just have to plan it so that I have some rest time afterwards, because that post workout soreness is not good when you have to like be on your feet all day the next day.
So let me ask you this: like, of your whole this whole first tour of yours, and given those small hurdles, and like you're saying, it's mostly a positive experience. So what are some things you've learned, or your biggest takeaways, your biggest positive takeaways from your first tour?
Um, I want to say my biggest positive takeaways are that I feel like a lot of artists feel like they have to have success in their city before they can branch out to other places. And one of my takeaways is that like you can gain fans anywhere. You never know who's listening to your music or where they live, where they're from, who they're like who they have like a special connection to, like in music. Because people, everything is relative. So people will say you sound like somebody, and that will make them want to listen to you. Like for me, I got a lot of like Jill Scott and Erica comparisons throughout my career. So people that like that music tend to like my music as well. And like for example, Sage, I don't know like I'm not gonna say who he sounds like, but I do know that there's a lot of people in London that absolutely love Sage's music. And London might have been one of the biggest shows that we did for sure. So like, and Sage is from like, I believe he's bi-coastal. He's from New York, but he lived out in LA for a while. So it's just like, you just never know where your fan base can build, and you don't have to focus on like being super successful in your city, because there could be like 10,000 people in one city that want to hear you, and you're struggling to find people in your local neighborhood to play your music, or in your city or wherever you're from. So that was very inspiring and motivating. It made me, I mean, not that I wanted to give up, but it made me just realize like, hey, you should definitely keep going, because you just never know who's out there and who's going to be a fan of you, who's going to spread your music, share it with others, where it's going to get popular. So that was really cool. And another positive takeaway, um, I guess I don't really consider this a lesson. I mean, maybe it can be a lesson, but like, so I met Tyler the Creator while I was on tour. I met him at the London show, and I
Oh,
didn't know he was going to be there until I got there. I believe that they purposely didn't tell me because they wanted to surprise me. Um, and I ended up performing while he was there, and he told me that he liked the way I sounded. He said I sounded great on stage, and I gave him one of my stickers, and I told him it was like a pleasure to meet him, and I really love his music. And it was just so dope meeting him, and it just reaffirmed for me that you're never too far away from your dreams. People that you feel like you want to rub shoulders with, people that you look up to, or admire, or like want to work with one day, they're never too far. Like, I think it's called the 6 degrees of separation. That like, I don't remember exactly how it works, but to the best of my understanding, it's like a person that you want to meet, or a person that you would like to get to know one day, is never more than 6 people away from you. Like, it's always somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody that knows them. So like, I guess like being on tour, and like traveling and meeting people and seeing who knows who, and who comes to what, and all that stuff was like pretty cool, because it just put into perspective that my dreams and things that I want to accomplish are closer than I might think, even if it feels like it might be far away.
you're just
So
living what you're saying in your rhymes, because you're saying like the first track of I Digress is to the moon, and you're just talking about going to the moon and just achieving and just taking that next step. So that's really cool to hear that.
absolutely.
Yeah. So would you say London was the city that was most receptive to you?
I don't know. I think that Atlanta showed me the most love for sure. I definitely want to go back and do more shows and meet more people out there. The crowd was amazing. That might have been my favorite, like, show audience wise. Um, for the experience of meeting Tyler the Creator, London would be one of my favorite shows by default. But the crowd was also really nice there as well. And it was nice because some people also in the crowd knew me prior to me changing my name, so they knew me as the Aphrodite, which I thought was a bit crazy. It was like, oh, I remember you. You haven't put out music in a long time, but I used to be like a fan of you. And I was just like, oh my gosh, it's so crazy seeing people like, because I always knew I had some fans in London, but like meeting them in person was like surreal. So, and
Unbelievable.
then I think outside of that, my other favorite location was LA, because I love LA. But the crowd in LA was also very, very receptive, and they were really just so sweet. And I also brought out Mavi as a special guest in LA, and they went crazy for that too. So
Wow, you did just another day.
yes, we did for
Oh
the
yeah,
first time.
love it, love it. Did you have any trouble like moving around in LA, like, or did you just go to your show and you just left to the went to another city?
So I was
Because
actually in LA for about a week.
whoa,
Um, and I didn't really have too much trouble moving around. I mean, to be fair, I Ubered a lot of places because I'm just when I'm in LA, I usually Uber because I feel like
same.
it's usually a bit cheaper than New York. In my personal opinion, I can't speak for anybody else, but I also took the bus. Took the bus a couple places, and I didn't mind it. It wasn't like I don't think it would be my preferred mode of transportation if I lived out there, but it wasn't bad to get to point A to from point A to point B if I wasn't going too far.
I was in LA for 6 days in April, and I Ubered a lot, and it was pretty expensive because I went for WrestleMania weekend, and a lot of people were there, and I bet that definitely rose the prices. And
I
going
was
to
there
and
for
from,
BET weekend.
oh my god, and
Yeah,
Ubers were not crazy.
no, they weren't that bad.
That's nuts. Wow. But anyway, I
Yeah,
loved LA. LA was great.
yeah, LA is amazing. I definitely want to go back and have like an extended stay out there. I want to make music while I'm out there. That's I guess that's another regret that I have. I didn't get to make music. Like we didn't go to a studio on tour or anything. Zero had his equipment, but we never really sat down to make anything together like as a group. So
It'll
I'm kind
happen.
of sad about that.
It'll happen. You'll get back out there. Tyler will invite you back out there to make some music. So
I hope so.
you can manifest that. Did you
Absolutely.
like after this tour finished and you came back? Did you see like like an influx of feature inquiries since I Digress dropped and since this tour ended?
Not featured specifically, but I've definitely got some show bookings. I've got some requests to do some pre-recorded sets in places. So I will be doing a set for Dub Lab soon, and I also have something else coming that I'm going to keep a secret for now because I don't want to announce it until I'm ready.
Okay.
But yeah, I've been having some opportunities here and there show up. Um, but since I've been home, I've just been focused on. There's been a lot of events in New York this week, so I really just focused on like networking and like rubbing shoulders, shaking hands, handing out my little stickers that I have, just getting people acquainted with me. And yeah, the Young World Festival was 2 days ago, day before yesterday. Yeah, day before yesterday, and that was something with where my dear friend Mavi was performing, Mike, No Name, Georgia Ann Muldrow,
Yeah.
uh, a lot of people were there, and I met most of the performers, and I also met Earl Sweatshirt, which was really cool.
Whoa.
Um, yeah, so I met, and it's so funny because I met him exactly a month after I met Tyler. Like I met Tyler June 15th, and I met Earl July 15th. That was pretty cool. And I really did like. I always wanted to meet them because I think they're so cool and so inspiring. So that was definitely a highlight
Wow.
of being home. So yeah.
I think you, Mike, Earl, produced by Navy Blue on one track. That that's it. That's magic. That's magic to me.
I would love that. That sounds amazing.
Yeah. We'll manifest that. You going back to LA to record with Tyler and you doing something else with Earl Sweatshirt. So we'll manifest
Hmm.
that. So there's one track off of I Digress that stood out to me because I heard it before, and it's Baby Hairs. And you first put it out in 2020 when you were still
Hmm.
the Aphrodite, and it was part of the To Finally Let Go demo collection. So you don't like to hold on to songs that you've recorded. You just want to let it go, no matter if it's going to fit into another project or not.
Well, I think that that particular song, I decided to re-release it because I think at the time that I put it out, I kind of just wanted to put something out because I felt like I hadn't put something out in a while. And at first, I looked at it as kind of like a Lucy, like a track that wasn't really important to me. But as I got a little bit older and I would listen to it and play it back more, I was like, I really enjoy this song. I feel like it didn't really get the recognition it deserves, so I wanted to re-release it as, my new moniker because I feel like it would open it up to some more ears. And I don't regret the choice. I think it fit pretty well with the album, honestly. I think that I'm just happy that I got to reuse it, reintroduce it, and give more credit to the song, and not only the song, but the amazing producer that produced it, my dear friend Deck from Australia. So I definitely wanted to make sure that it got its flowers, you know?
Yeah, yeah, it's a great song. So I'm glad it resurfaced. Are there any songs that you've recorded and haven't released that you felt were sonically or conceptually antiquated? Like you conceptually you felt a certain way at a time, or you heard a piece of music that you wanted to lend your voice to at a certain time, but you didn't feel like it was relevant to you anymore as it aged?
Um, there's a song, I guess, that's an interesting question. There's a song that there's a song that I did with Pink Sifu a very long time ago that I still haven't released yet. And when I first did the song, I had a verse that I wrote that I just felt like every time I would write a verse for the song, it just felt like it didn't fit. And I ended up realizing that it was the beat itself that I think I just didn't want to use anymore. So once I started making beats, I kind of revisited the record and I built the beat around, I built a new beat around Pink Sifu's vocals. Um, and now it's definitely a song I appreciate more. And I rewrote my verse, and this time I'm not changing it. I love it now. I'm pretty obsessed with it. Um, and he always, it's so funny because he always, whenever he sees me, he's always asking me like, "Where's that song that we did? Where's that song that we did?" And I'm just like, "I got it. It's gonna come out soon. Like, don't worry." But I just wanted it to feel right before I put it out.
Got
So
it.
if that's what you're asking, then yeah, that song would fit that category, I guess.
Yeah,
But I do
perfect.
plan on releasing it eventually. Maybe in the next project or a project after that. Who knows?
Yeah, I definitely expect another Lucy or two from you. I've learned to expect.
Right now, I'm in the process of working on visuals.
Okay.
Yeah. So
There's one track, another track off of I Digress that I really love and I can't stop thinking about. Maybe you'll provide visuals to this song, Psilocybin. Were you on
yes, that
mushrooms
seems to
when
be a
you
fan favorite.
were you on mushrooms when you made the song, or recorded I Digress in general?
I was sober when I wrote the lyrics.
Okay.
I think I might have been microdosing a little bit when I made the beat, but yeah, I just like to. I was talking. I mean, I take shrooms, but I also don't really buy them from everyone. So when I do have them, it's a little farther and fewer in between. Um, and I also like to keep my tolerance for them a little lower because the more you take them, the higher your tolerance gets, and I don't want to ever have to take too much to feel anything. Um, so yeah, I try to limit my shrooms intake, but I do them. I enjoy doing them. Um, so I just was trying to encapsulate the experience of them because that's what the beat made me feel when I made it. So,
Yeah,
but
it's
yeah,
very
I wasn't.
psychedelic.
I definitely wasn't high when I wrote the lyrics.
Cool. Do you feel like psychedelics aid or hinder your creative process?
It depends on what I'm doing. If I'm by myself, sometimes they can be an aid, but I realize that like when I am collaborating with others, I prefer to be sober. Um, so anytime I have to like do something that I consider to be work, I would prefer to be just sober, whether it be performing or in the studio with other people, because I want to be like, I feel like it delays my response time in certain like social interactions, and I would just prefer to be like on the ball and sharp. Like unless I'm like doing something fun and I'm just out having like a leisurely kind of day, I don't really do them when I'm outside.
Okay. Has mushrooms unlocked a vast knowledge of wealth for you, like you said on the song?
Yes, I think that when I do them, and that's another reason I only do them in like in safe spaces where I can like control my stimuli. When I'm when I'm in a safe place and I take a larger portion, I do feel like I'm a lot more introspective. I learn more about myself. I think more about like my interactions with others and how I can be better, and just like my art and how I can improve, you know, just how to be
Yeah.
a better version of myself is really what I think about when I'm on shrooms, or like
Okay.
how something from my past affected me and how I can like let go of that so I don't carry it into like my future endeavors, all things like that. It's all a lot of introspection, really.
Kind of like a mental detox.
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
sometimes I don't even think about like myself too much when I'm on shrooms because I'll like put it on, I'll like have them and then I'll put on something interesting like a visually captivating movie or like just something, or I'll play listen to music that I really want to enjoy. Like just something to relax me. So it's not always introspection. Sometimes it's just about like enjoying something from a different perspective. And I think that shrooms help with that also.
All right, Kelly. Thank you for coming on My Little Underground again, and please tell people where they can stream or purchase I Digress and where they can follow you on socials or whatever.
So my socials and all of that is the same. You can find me at Kelly Moonstone. So that's Kelly, moon in the sky, stone on the ground. If you can't spell that, then I can't really help you.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you again, Kelly. I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me. My Little
Yeah.
Underground is such a pleasure every time.
Oh, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
My Little Underground.